Welcome back. This is Jesse Bergman, and I'm here with you today. We're running through the steps of the turn, and we have done the influence phase, the sight phase, and the Solarium phase at this point. So we now know how to play our influence cards, put our sights into play, and generate Solarium. In this case, we have one Solarium generated and one Solarium in our pool. We now step to our combatant phase, and our combatant phase is where we can move units. We call this deploy, units from our rear row, our rear support rows ranks, which was basically our hand, to the front lines for our opponent. So in the case of the current circumstance, I have one Solarium in the pool. I can spend one Solarium from my pool. I go to 0 Solarium in the pool, but I get a Gray Harrier on the battlefield. Now the Gray Harrier comes in activated, which means that I can't use him to defend me yet, and I can't use him to attack yet. I also can't use any of his abilities, and the reason being is because I've had to move him from my rear support ranks, my hand, to the front row of my battlefield. And by doing so, I'm having to have a transit time to get him there. And this transit time is represented by him physically moving from my hand to the battlefield. This does mean that my Gray Harrier is vulnerable to opponent-driven effects until he becomes reset, any number of things. So he may not ever get to attack if my opponent can properly deal with him beforehand. However, that is exactly how we play combatants. So I'm going to go ahead and step us forward again like I've done in past videos. I'm going to go ahead and get us to the second round of play, and I'm going to put out a shipyard where Gray Harrier is ready. Now I'm going to go ahead and use that Spoils of War like I did in an earlier video. We'll talk about revealing these cards later. I have 4 Solarium because of the one from the Spoils, the one from the Watchtower and the Shipyard, and the one from the Solarium counter generated by the Spoils. I can now go ahead and put out my Red Condor because he costs 4. Now I generated 4 and I spent 4, so I'm back at 0, but I now have another combatant on the battlefield. I continue to do this every turn during my combatant phase. I can play any number of combatants as long as their Solarium cost doesn't exceed the amount of Solarium I have in my pool. So if we back this up, if I have 4 Solarium in my pool, I can play any number of combatants as long as it doesn't exceed a total cost of 4. So I could spend 1 on another Gray Harrier, 2 on a Vasad Saboteur. I could spend 2 on 2 Vasad Saboteurs. They each cost 2 Solarium apiece. I could do any combination of combatants as long as that doesn't exceed 4. So playing combatants is super simple. It's a very easy process. We do play one combatant at a time, and when we play that combatant, in this case I would have spent 2, our opponent now has an opportunity to react to this deploy effect through a command window. If our opponent passes on that command window and we pass on that command window, then the combatant does resolve to the battlefield and does become on his way to the front lines. Now, if I had another combatant to play, I could play a second one, and that would open up a new command window, and that command window would again allow us to react to the deployment of that new combatant. Once I'm done deploying combatants, you'll see on the turn sheet, though, there's another command window in the combatant phase. This is the final command window. And in this command window, we both can take continuous actions or do actions in terms of revealing condition cards or tactic cards, whatever it may be, that could change the shape of the battlefield. Once we pass on that command window again, we're now moving directly into the attack phase. So when we get to the attack phase on the next turn, what you're going to see here is going to change a little bit. I'm going to lay out some cards on like my opponent was playing against me, and we'll shoot some video with that and basically show you how attacking and defending works exactly. From there, once we get through the attack phase, you'll see the discard and the end phases will be one video, and then we'll spend some time talking about the command window. If you have any questions on how to deploy combatants or how to put combatants into the battlefield or any questions related to this video, please comment below. Send us a note on Board Game Geek. Send us a message on Twitter. Anything that would work best for you, we'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thanks so much. We'll see you in the next video.